Well, we picked the preacher up early that next morning. We'd already made half a dozen calls. Can't get through. We didn't seem to be quite as panicked as we had been the night before. I think it was because we knew now we're doing all we can do. We're on the way. And also there had been no reports of that storm doing any major damage other than in Udall. So we felt pretty sure the kids were all right, but boy, we wanted to get over there and find out that they really were. We wanted to hold them. It wasn't Texas hold them. It's hold them on those children, get your hugs and kisses. Well, wasn't a whole lot of conversation on the way over. A little uneasy with the minister that's been a critic, but it wasn't unpleasant by any means. And as we listened on the radio, as we'd known from what we'd heard on the television that morning as we got dressed and ready to leave, the National Guard had been called out and sealed off Udall. Those of you that aren't familiar with this kind of thing might think that's strange. Well, I guess not in this day and age, after having heard of all the hell that broke loose in New Orleans after Katrina. But when you have this kind of a tragedy, you have to seal off and protect against opportunists, looters, dishonest people that want to take advantage of somebody else's tragedy. So the town was sealed off. And as we got closer to Udall, we came in from the south and west, and one of the first things we saw was the high school. Well, I suppose the high school and grade school were together like they were in Hartner. Small towns are that way. But anyway, this school building was pretty new, and one of the first things you saw was that the roof on the gymnasium was partially off. Takes a lot of power to move a big roof on a big building. It's kind of awesome. But then we got a little closer and you began to see debris. You see houses that were partially there and partially not there. Then you hit the checkpoint. Not going to let you in until they find out you've got a minister with you that might be able to offer solace and comfort. Waved right on in. And as you get right, the checkpoint was kind of out, like maybe, I don't know, a mile, 3/4 of a mile away from the little town. As you get on in there, you see that, oh boy, that storm really did completely remove some houses. You'd see a place where you could tell there'd been a house and there's really nothing. Then you see an area where there's all sorts of garbage from destruction of houses and sheds and barns and so on laying around. Oh my God, there's a cow with a 2x4 sticking out of the side of it. Poor thing. Unless a vet was called, the infection would set in, that cow would have to be put down. Saw some dead animals, but not many. You could see houses that almost everything was gone. In fact, one of the stories of Udall was a house where a couple happened to be standing together in a doorway, and the doorway was what was left with them still standing. Oh God, you do play Russian roulette at times. Well, we went by a church. I think maybe it was his old church, and yet somehow in my mind it seems to me it was a Baptist church, and here he is, a Methodist minister at our place, so I don't know. But that church, that was impressive. It was one of those that had, I don't know, half a dozen steps that you go up, and it was well up off the ground. Some of the side stone foundation was actually missing. That church was basically completely removed. Oh, I'd seen buildings in Seoul where they'd been bombed out that didn't look as totally destroyed as that church was. Really blew my mind. Well, notice something. Lots of activity. I think they were still searching for bodies. Lots of activity by the National Guard. Some trucks were in there moving stuff around and trying to clear some areas already. The National Guard wasn't the only outfit of prominence there. The Salvation Army was set up, had 2 or 3 little stations set up with some food. You could tell they had blankets. They had gotten there in the night and were there in the morning. Didn't see any Red Cross around. That organization, the Salvation Army, they get my donations when I make donations to that kind of thing. Never given a penny to the Red Cross. Later in the week, back out at Hartner, never once heard the television or the radio say anything about what the Salvation Army did. They are apparently into press releases. Over and over we heard what the Red Cross was doing. Seems kind of strange. The ones there at the time the need is the most critical gets no notice. The other one gets there after the main crunch of terror is settled down. Gets all that press. Anyway, we got out of town, went out to the farm. The house is standing. It had twisted just a little at the corners. You could see that the house had shifted. But the house was still standing. Grandpa and Grandma and our 2 babies are just fine. They say you shouldn't have worried. We had the kids with us down in the root cellar. If the house had gone, we would have still been all right. Whew. Lots of hugs and kisses and lots of relief. You know what? The kids went home with us too. Never had seen anything in the way of that kind of destruction other than war. Tornadoes are like, when they strike, like war, they're hell.